Hey everyone, and welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today on some pretty thought-provoking ideas.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from Szilvia Olah's article.
Okay.
It's called Companies Must Stop Being Glorified Activists.
Interesting.
Have you ever felt like companies are getting a little too
Oh, yeah.
caught up in social and political issues?
Sure.
Like
Yeah.
maybe they should just stick to,
Right.
actually running their business.
Yeah.
Well, that's exactly what Olah is arguing.
Okay.
But we're going to unpack her perspective and see what insights we can uncover.
Sounds good.
I was at the grocery store the other day, and I noticed a popular cereal brand now features a rainbow on the box.
Oh.
And it got me thinking,
Yeah.
does slapping a symbol on a product really make a difference?
Mm-hmm.
Or is it just a marketing ploy?
Right.
It feels like some companies are more interested in appearing woke than actually addressing real issues.
That's a great example of what Ola calls performative activism,
Oh, really?
and it's a theme that runs throughout her article. She's basically calling out the hypocrisy of companies who talk a big game about social issues,
Yeah.
but don't necessarily back it up with meaningful action.
Okay, so in this deep dive,
Right.
we'll examine Olah's key arguments and consider whether her perspective holds up under scrutiny.
Yeah.
We'll also explore the potential motivations behind corporate activism,
Mm-hmm.
the impact it has on employees,
Uh-huh.
and ultimately whether companies might be overstepping their bounds.
So let's dive into Ola's first point then.
Okay.
She argues that companies often fall short when it comes to aligning their actions with their stated values.
Right.
She specifically uses the example of BMW and their approach to Pride Month.
BMW.
Yeah, rainbow logos galore in Western markets, but crickets in the Middle East.
Wow. It seems like a pretty glaring inconsistency, wouldn't you say?
It definitely highlights the challenges companies face when trying to navigate complex social and political landscapes.
I see.
What's interesting here is the potential disconnect between a company's desire to appeal to certain demographics while also trying to maintain a presence in regions with differing cultural norms. It raises the question of whether these companies are genuinely committed to the causes they claim to support,
Yeah.
or are they simply trying to manage their image and appease different markets?
And what does that say about their credibility?
Yeah.
Not just with the public,
Right.
but also with their own employees.
Exactly.
I mean, if you're working for a company that's saying one thing and doing another,
Yeah.
it can't help but make you question their sincerity.
And that's where Ola's argument about DEI initiatives comes in.
Okay.
She contends that some companies are starting to pull back from these programs,
Interesting.
potentially as a response to this perceived lack of authenticity.
Speaking of DEI,
Yeah.
Olah mentions Robbie Starbuck, who claims to have thousands of whistleblowers with insider information about companies that are basically just paying lip service to diversity and inclusion. Do you think there's any weight to these claims?
It's always important to approach such claims with a healthy dose of skepticism. While Starbuck might have some valid points, it's crucial to consider the source and any potential biases.
Right.
We need to look for concrete evidence and avoid jumping to conclusions based on anecdotal information.
So what are your initial thoughts on this potential shift away from DEI initiatives? Have you observed any changes in your own workplace or in companies you follow?
It's hard to say definitively whether there's a widespread trend,
Yeah.
but it's certainly a conversation that's happening in many boardrooms and HR departments. There could be various factors at play,
I see.
ranging from economic pressures to a genuine reevaluation of the effectiveness of certain DEI programs.
Olah is pretty outspoken about the need for companies to respect the diverse beliefs of their employees and avoid pushing a singular agenda.
Okay.
She argues that when companies try to dictate how employees should think or feel,
Right.
it can lead to a culture of conformity and resentment.
Interesting point.
What are your thoughts on that?
It's an interesting point, and one that I think resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah.
On the one hand, companies have a responsibility to create a workplace that is free from discrimination and harassment.
Of course.
On the other hand, employees should feel like they can bring their whole selves to work,
Right.
including their own unique perspectives and beliefs.
Sure.
Finding that balance is crucial.
It's like that saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink.
Right.
You can't force people to embrace certain viewpoints,
Yeah.
and trying to do so can backfire spectacularly.
Exactly.
And that's where Olah's argument about potential harm comes in.
Uh-huh.
She believes that when companies push agendas that clash with employee values,
Okay.
it can create division, distrust, and ultimately a less productive work environment.
Right.
So instead of fostering a sense of unity, these well-intentioned initiatives might actually be having the opposite effect.
Yeah.
It's almost like they're creating more problems than they're solving.
That's a possibility we need to consider.
Yeah.
Olah argues that companies should focus on creating a culture of respect and inclusivity, where diverse viewpoints are welcomed,
Yeah.
but where employees are not pressured to conform to a specific ideology.
It sounds like a delicate balance to strike,
Yeah,
especially in today's increasingly polarized world.
absolutely. And that's what makes this conversation so important.
Right.
We need to be having these difficult discussions and exploring different perspectives in order to find the best path forward.
Olah then makes a point that I found particularly interesting.
Okay.
She argues that a lot of these corporate stances are redundant
Redundant.
because we already have laws in place to address issues like discrimination, equal pay, and environmental protection.
It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah.
Olah seems to be suggesting that companies are sometimes stepping into territory that's already covered by existing legal frameworks.
Right.
She believes they should focus on complying with the law and leave social change to other actors, like policymakers and advocacy groups.
But isn't there also an argument to be made for companies going above and beyond what's legally required? Think about companies that have taken a stand on ethical sourcing or sustainable practices.
Yeah.
They're not just following the rules.
Mhm.
They're trying to make a real difference.
That's a valid point.
Yeah.
And it raises an important question.
What's that?
Where do we draw the line between legal compliance and voluntary corporate action?
Olah seems to think that companies should stay in their lane and focus on their core business functions. She argues that social and political agendas are ultimately irrelevant in the workplace.
Yeah.
Do you think she has a point?
It's a thought-provoking argument, and one that I think resonates with many people
Okay.
who feel like the workplace should be a neutral space where they can simply focus on their work.
I see.
Olah's point is that bringing potentially divisive topics into the workplace can be distracting, unproductive, and even harmful to employee morale.
I could definitely see where she's coming from.
Yeah.
I've been in situations where I felt like I had to bite my tongue or avoid certain topics altogether because I didn't want to create any tension or be seen as that person. It can be a real energy drain.
Exactly. And that speaks to Olah's concern about the potential impact on employee well-being.
Yeah.
Constantly feeling like you have to self-censor or navigate these politically charged waters can be stressful,
Right.
anxiety-inducing,
Yeah.
and ultimately lead to burnout.
So should workplaces be entirely devoid of social and political discourse? Or is there a way to foster healthy and respectful dialogue without it turning into a battleground?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
Yeah.
And one that we'll need to keep exploring as we continue this deep dive.
Olah also brings up a point that I think often gets overlooked:
What's that?
customer backlash.
Okay.
She uses the example of Harley-Davidson, where some customers are unhappy with the company's direction
Yeah.
and are calling for a change in leadership.
It's a great example because it illustrates the delicate balance that companies need to maintain between staying true to their corporate values and responding to customer feedback. How much weight should companies give to customer opinions, even when those opinions are critical of their stances on social or political issues? It's a tough call.
And finally, Olah makes a point that I think is crucial and often gets lost in all the noise.
What's that?
She argues that companies should be focusing on their internal problems first before wading into external debates. Things like employee burnout, unrealistic targets, and layoffs.
It's a point that resonates with me as well.
Okay.
Olah seems to be suggesting that companies are sometimes so focused on projecting a certain image to the outside world that they neglect the very people who make their success possible, their employees.
It's like putting on a fancy facade while the foundation is crumbling.
Right.
You might look good from the outside, but eventually the whole thing is going to collapse.
And that's where Olah's call for companies to prioritize employee well-being and core business functions comes in. It's about aligning your actions with your internal needs and ensuring that your employees feel valued and supported.
So we've covered a lot of ground here.
For sure.
And Olah's perspective definitely gives us a lot to think about.
Absolutely.
It seems like she's advocating for companies to step back from some of these social and political agendas and focus on what she sees as their core responsibilities.
To sum up her main points, Olah believes that companies often engage in performative activism without genuine commitment, that they may overstep their bounds by dictating employee beliefs, and that social and political agendas can be distracting and irrelevant in a work context.
Yeah.
She also highlights the potential for customer backlash
Right.
and argues that companies should prioritize their internal needs and employee well-being.
It's a pretty bold stance and one that's sure to generate some debate.
Definitely.
What stands out to you from Olah's argument? What resonates with your own experiences in the workplace?
Well, I think it's a conversation that's happening more and more these days.
Mm.
Where do companies draw the line?
Right.
What's the right balance?
Exactly.
These are complex questions with no easy answers.
Olah seems to think that companies often lose sight of that balance. And instead of creating a positive impact, their actions actually end up hurting the very people they claim to be helping.
She argues that this focus on external agendas can distract companies from addressing their own internal issues.
Yeah.
Things like creating a fair and equitable workplace for all employees,
Uh-huh.
regardless of their background or beliefs.
It reminds me of that saying, physician, heal thyself.
Right.
Maybe companies should be focusing on getting their own houses in order before trying to fix the world's problems.
That's a good analogy.
Thanks.
Olah believes that companies have a responsibility to their employees, their customers, and their shareholders.
Of course.
And that responsibility starts with ensuring that their own operations are ethical, sustainable, and aligned with their core values.
It sounds like she's advocating for a more pragmatic approach to corporate social responsibility. One that prioritizes concrete actions and measurable results over symbolic gestures and virtue signaling.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah.
Olah isn't necessarily against companies taking a stand on social issues,
Okay.
but she believes they need to be strategic and thoughtful in their approach.
I see.
And they need to make sure that their actions are aligned with their core business objectives and the values of their employees and customers.
So how should companies approach social issues in a way that's authentic and impactful without alienating their employees or customers?
Yep.
What's the secret sauce?
Olah doesn't offer a specific blueprint,
Okay.
but she does suggest that companies need to start by listening to their stakeholders,
Yeah.
including their employees, customers, and the communities they operate in.
Makes sense.
They need to understand the issues that matter most to these groups
Right.
and identify areas where they can make a meaningful difference.
It sounds like she's advocating for a more collaborative approach to corporate social responsibility. One that involves engaging with stakeholders and working together to find solutions that benefit everyone.
Exactly.
Okay.
Olah believes that companies have a unique opportunity to leverage their resources and influence to drive positive change.
I see.
But they need to do it in a way that's genuine, transparent, and accountable.
So if companies are going to step back from certain agendas, as Olah suggests,
Right.
what role should they play in addressing societal issues, if any? Should they focus solely on their core business functions and leave social change to other actors?
Okay.
Or is there a way for them to contribute meaningfully without overstepping their bounds?
That's the million-dollar question.
I know, right?
And one that we'll need to grapple with as individuals, as consumers, and as members of society.
For sure.
There's no easy answer, but I think it's a conversation that we need to be having.
I completely agree. Olah's article has given us a lot to think about.
Definitely.
It's challenged us to question our assumptions about the role of corporations in society and to consider the potential consequences of their actions,
Right.
both intended and unintended.
It's a reminder that companies are not just economic entities.
Yeah.
They're also social actors with a responsibility to consider the impact of their decisions on a wide range of stakeholders.
It's a call to action for all of us to be more engaged and informed citizens,
Absolutely.
to hold companies accountable for their actions,
Right.
and to demand that they operate in a way that's ethical, sustainable, and beneficial to society as a whole.
We're all part of this ecosystem, and we all have a role to play in shaping the future of corporate social responsibility.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, let's turn it back to you, our listeners.
Okay.
What are your takeaways from Olah's article and our discussion? What resonates with your own experiences in the workplace? It feels like we're at a turning point,
Yeah.
where the old playbook for corporate social responsibility might not be cutting it anymore.
Olah's article is definitely a sign of the times.
Right.
It reflects a growing skepticism about corporate activism and a desire for companies to be more authentic and accountable in their actions.
So where do we go from here?
Right.
If companies are going to shift their focus away from some of these external agendas,
Yeah.
what should they prioritize instead?
Olah argues that companies should double down on their core responsibilities.
Okay.
That means focusing on creating value for their customers,
Uh-huh.
providing meaningful work for their employees, and generating sustainable profits for their shareholders.
It sounds like she's advocating for a back-to-basics approach.
Right.
Less talk, more action.
Exactly. And she's not alone in this view.
Oh, really?
Many business leaders and thinkers are calling for companies to adopt a more pragmatic approach to social responsibility,
Okay.
one that prioritizes concrete results over symbolic gestures.
But doesn't that seem a little, I don't know, cold? Like, shouldn't companies care about more than just profits?
It's not about being cold-hearted.
Right.
It's about recognizing that companies can't be all things to all people. They need to focus on their core competencies and areas where they can make a real difference.
So are you saying that companies should just ignore social issues altogether?
Not necessarily. It's more about being strategic and intentional in their approach.
I see.
Companies can still support causes they believe in,
Uh-huh.
but they need to do it in a way that's aligned with their business objectives and the values of their stakeholders.
For example, instead of just slapping a rainbow on their packaging during Pride Month,
Right.
companies could focus on creating more inclusive workplaces for LGBTQ plus employees.
That's a great example. It's
Yeah.
about moving beyond symbolic gestures and focusing on actions that have a tangible impact.
So how can companies ensure that their actions are authentic and not just another form of performative activism?
Transparency is key.
Okay.
Companies need to be upfront about their goals and the steps they're taking to achieve them.
Right.
They also need to be open to feedback and willing to course correct when necessary.
It sounds like it all comes down to trust. Companies need to earn the trust of their employees, customers, and the wider community.
Absolutely. Trust is essential for any successful business,
Yeah.
especially in today's world where consumers are more informed and discerning than ever before.
So if you could leave our listeners with one key takeaway from this deep dive, what would it be?
I would say that it's time for companies to rethink their approach to social responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
The old playbook is no longer working.
Right.
Companies need to be more authentic, more accountable, and more focused on creating real value for their stakeholders.
And that's a wrap on our deep dive into Szilvia Olah's thought-provoking article.
Great discussion.
We hope this conversation has challenged you to think critically about the role of companies in society
Yeah.
and the importance of holding them accountable for their actions.
Oh, sure.
Remember, you have a voice,
You do.
and you can use it to demand better from the businesses you support. Until next time, keep diving deep and keep those critical thinking caps on.